Strive for Five at the high school. This is teaching tolerance and acceptance. I notice our anti-bullying coordinator, Amy Finkelstein, is here in the audience tonight, and one of her charges is to watch over the programs and the initiatives under harassment, intimidation, and bullying. We have counselors in all of our schools. That's something that you don't find everywhere, but you do find here. We have all kinds of committees that exist at the district level, but the one I chose to put up here is we have a district behavior committee that meets on a regular basis to sort of put heads together around case studies and particular issues in the district. Lots of security measures. I don't have to go over all of them with you. I'm wearing one of them right around my neck tonight, and you know about the surveillance cameras, etc. Have always paid attention to wellness, defined in the broadest sense: social, emotional, academic, physical. And I listed up there just a few things. We've had AEDs in our school way before Janet's Law ever came into place, saying that we must have them. We have had them. We have medical emergency response teams. In fact, Dr. Jellick walked into Greenbrook School in the middle of a drill and thought he had walked into a medical emergency. That's how serious our MERT teams take their practice. We have a crisis response team, which we hope we never have to activate, but if we need to, it's there. And nurse educators in every one of our buildings, nurses that not just are there to watch over the health and wellness, but they're there as educators. They teach. This also includes our green initiatives, all of our recycling programs, and of course our well-maintained buildings and our beautiful grounds, and I call them our backyards, the backyards to our schools, playgrounds, and our strong homeschool relationships. I'll use my favorite, the Parent Academy, is just one example of that. Behind that comes what we call comprehensive education, and these are your essential building blocks. And so when I looked into this year's budget and began to plan with Anthony and with all of my supervisors, you'll find in the budget that we are meeting and exceeding curriculum and assessment requirements. We do everything that the state asks us to do and then some. We have provided for the enrollment that Anthony referenced earlier, some increases, and we watch our high school course enrollment and make sure that we have planned accordingly. The budget includes necessary textbooks, materials, technology, and we are efficient wherever possible. Mr. Kim actually mentioned at the last meeting we were talking about e-books, and the fact that e-books and hard texts, there's literally no cost differential, but he did mention the green piece of that, and I did keep that in mind. But I wanted to mention to the board, this may be something you're not aware that we do. There's something called New Jersey Share that we're a member of, and so when we go to read textbooks, we're no longer using them, we enter them into a state database called New Jersey Share. They are offered to other districts free of charge. They come in just for them coming and picking the books up. They are able to use what we would normally discard. The plus side of that is we do the same. So sometimes you're looking for 15 or 20 of a particular title that may not even be in print anymore, and lo and behold, you find them in New Jersey Share. No cost to the district. One of us literally gets in the car and goes and picks them up. Ongoing professional development in all the areas: technology, curriculum instruction, etc. Also, under comprehensive education, our opportunities. And Dr. Jellick mentioned the art gallery. That is probably our most visible example of our art program, K-12. A couple weeks before that, we did our district music festival, and again, it was sort of the unveiling of our music curriculum in one night, elementary to high. Our extracurricular offerings, you know we've been expanding STEM at our elementary, middle, and high school level, continuing the athletic opportunities, the leadership opportunities, and we will continue pay to participate. We reduced that last year, and of course this year once again, we'll look at it to make sure that we aren't able to reduce it even further. And the third piece I'll talk about are those things we do that contribute to our strong results. Now I'm beyond the core. I'm talking now libraries as learning commons. Sometimes you hear about districts where they have closed their libraries, or you find library dissolved and the books are now sent down into classrooms. Our libraries are learning commons programs at one of the last board meetings that was highlighted, the Miss Dubois programs that support. We have alternative approaches and student support services. All those things go from the core and beyond. And finally, in terms of personnel, I listed what our average class size is. We have maintained this for a good number of years. We continue our supervisory structure to make sure that our teachers are being supervised and evaluated as per Achieve New Jersey, and no reductions in staff are planned, except where enrollment driven. So for example, if there was a change in enrollment at the high school level in a particular department, you might see shifts and changes there, but no reductions are planned. Anthony, you're going to pick up on protecting the investment.
So in terms of facilities, obviously every year we have to do certain things to maintain our facilities, but along with that, we also do some new projects. Some of the projects projected in this coming year's budget, new tennis courts at the high school. We have a foundation issue there, and they're actually starting to crack heavily, so that's something that's been going on for a couple of years. We're monitoring that. We plan to replace them this summer. At the Dean School, we have a stage that isn't used. We're going to convert that into instructional space. We also are looking for some storage areas in the high school. These are what I would deem huge projects. Last year we had from Capital Reserve, we had our athletic fields. All these projects are a couple $100,000 or less for the most part, but they're things that need to be done in order to give us adequate space for other things. We're also going to look at our various sound systems. We have a vendor that we're working with to upgrade in those areas for emergency drills, where problem areas like cafeterias and gyms where it's hard to hear. We're going to design something, using that vendor to come up with a better system for those hard to hear areas. And we're also going to continue with our security system upgrades, whether it be cameras or other means, along with the routine stuff like maintenance of floors, walkways, security systems, which I mentioned, parking lots, and gymnasium floors as well. And then when we plan for the future, some of the things that we're talking about here are maintaining those class sizes that Joanne mentioned. Again, there are average class sizes. For the most part, we try to keep the elementaries 23 to 1 and secondary, I guess, in high school 25 to 1 where possible. You might walk into class and see more than that, obviously, but on average, we try to keep it around that area. Maintaining all those programs we talked about, including our pay to participate programs. We try to offer as many things as we can to our students, keeping the taxpayers in mind. Meeting state and federal mandates of things like IDEA or NCLB, those types of programs where we get federal money. There's certain guidelines and certain things we have to meet. In terms of the current economic recovery, this is probably the first in about 6 years where we actually had a tax rateable increase in the community. In other words, there was more building going on in the community than there were appeals or assessment appeals that were taking away from the value of the community. So for the first time in about 6 years, we had the ability to start a budget at the same tax rate as we did in the previous years. I won't get into that any further, but that helps us in this process. We have a 2% tax levy cap, which means that whatever your tax levy is in the current year, you can only raise it 2%, with a couple of exceptions moving forward. This is only the second time that this Board of Education is using that 2% tax levy to the fullest over the past 5 years. And the collective bargaining agreements and contractual agreements, we're currently in negotiations with 8 different bargaining units, so we don't know how that will play out, but obviously we're looking to settle those contracts. Some of the other final components that we talk about with budget: benefits, things like unemployment, health care, pension contributions, disability, and Social Security. There are things that we can't miss payments on. Obviously, there are things we build into our budgets. Over the past 4 years, since we've hired energy specialists, we've reduced our energy costs 20 to 25%. The year before Paul Bennett got here, we were at about $4 million in spending for utilities. At the end of last year, we were slightly over $2.8 million. So we reduced that by almost $1.2 million. Meanwhile, we were told to project 150 students, and we had to set aside money for that, but this board chose not to spend that money. That money went into capital reserve and helped us do projects within the schools, roofs, and other things. Capital reserve, money that I just mentioned, we continue to put money in there each year so that we don't have to go back to the taxpayers for a tax increase in that area of the budget. We also have money in emergency reserves. 2 summers ago, we had a gold issue. We were able to use that money to offset some of those costs. Refinancing of our outstanding debt, and I'll get into the numbers of that later, but we refinanced 3 different bond issues, and you'll see the results of that. And the thing I'm most excited about this coming year is the Energy Savings Improvement Program, which they call an ESIP. We're currently in the process of identifying areas in our facilities that we can save energy, and you do that so that it's budget neutral. So in other words, you take a number of projects and you blend them together, and you borrow the money over a number of years to pay that back, but it's budget neutral. So the savings has to offset that cost in the district. You can't do it. It's a regulated process, and it's something that I'm really excited about because we will reduce energy further, and then there'll be a payback of probably 10, 15 years. However, once you're through that point, then you have much more efficient buildings, you have newer equipment and things like that as well. All school district budgets need to be balanced. One of the misnomers in many government sectors is that they have a balanced budget, but we know that that's not always true. The state itself is looking for over $1 billion because they have a budget shortfall. Our budget next year is estimated to be $140.3 million. You can see the different things that make up our budget. The tax levy, majority of that, state aid, they're the 2 big things. And then you have other things like extraordinary aid or federal revenues that make up the remaining portions to get us at an estimated revenue of $140.3 million. And then our expenditures on the other side they balance. So in other words, we're not budgeting more or less than what we can raise in revenue. Everything has to equal. State aid history going back to 2008, 2009, you'll see we were at $24 million at that point. And then in 9-10, we were at $25 million. And then 10-11 was the year the governor took about $6 million away from us. And he also passed a law which allowed them to take some of our capital reserve and our fund balance that we had saved for the coming years. That was also the year I think we cut 112 staff members. So that was a devastating year, obviously. We slowly creeped up. Looks like there's an increase here for 15-16, but actually that is non-public money. We're a pass-through for some of the non-public things that happen in here for St. A's and some of the other schools in the town. They give us the money, they spend it, but it comes through our channels. So it's technically, the 23.3 is about the same for this year. We didn't receive one extra dollar in state aid. Our current general current expense budget is up 1.59%. That's our general day-to-day operating budget. That's salaries, benefits, utilities, and all the things we just spoke about. Our special programs funding budget, NCLB, and so forth. We're conservative here. We don't know exactly what those numbers would be. It depends on what the federal government strikes in their budget. But we're estimating a decrease in this area of about 8%. Our debt service fund, which is basically the monies used to pay back prior bond issues to help build our schools and facilitate and renovate our schools. That's down 3.95% next year. That's both principal and interest. And a lot of that's due to the prior refunding issues that we did over the last 5 years. So our total budget is up 1.07% to that same $140.3 million that I spoke about. There's 4 major areas of revenue in any school budget. There are local tax levy, which obviously you can see makes up the majority here, about 76%. There's state aid, which is almost 17%. So that leaves federal programs, which I spoke about, which is about $2.3 million. And then there's other local sources. It's money that the board is using to offset any further tax increase. So it's fund balance, it's capital reserve, it's things like extraordinary aid that I spoke about, it's interest income. If we rent our district that have to go out, that's projected to be up about 1.37%. Charter schools that I mentioned earlier, just slightly up 3.45%. General school, central administration, those areas are down actually 5.67%. A lot of that has to do with a bid that we recently opened for our internet services. We were able to save money by going to another carrier, significantly actually, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year by doing that. Transportation up about 3.67%. Employee benefits, again, 3.7%. Maintenance facilities, one of the areas where we're probably over the state average, and you'll see that in a few minutes. We actually cut in some of those areas this year to try to get that number down a little bit. That was actually the directive of the Department of Education, our county office, to say try to get that number down a little bit. And debt service that I mentioned is down almost like $300,000, or about 3.95% for next year. This board has been very proactive in terms of saving, reducing costs. These are some of the areas that we've done an excellent job in reducing costs. The refinancing of 3 different bond issues saved the district almost $10.7 million since 2007. That reduced the debt service part of our budget. That's that decrease, and it's been higher in other years than $2 and $3 million in some of those years. We've done things like co-op purchasing that has saved the district $1.3 million. We belong to an electric consortium where we buy electric in bulk with other school districts. That saved $816,000. I won't go through each and every one, but you can see here we've done a number of things to reduce. The energy costs, $1.2 million, most of that being last year alone. And then you have other things down the bottom. We have safety grants. Some of the consortiums we belong in for property casualty insurance offer grants. We apply for those. We use those for security measures, whether it be cameras or other security means within our buildings. We've raised almost $40 million for that. And there's other programs as well. I won't go through them all, but overall $27 million, whether it be savings, cost reductions, and so forth, since I've been here since 2006, and all these things have occurred since that time, and with this board's help in that area. So what does it mean for next year in terms of tax levy? We're looking at a tax rate, which will be 2.913. That's the school tax rate only, not the municipality or county taxes. The general fund tax levy is $101 million. You can see that here's the tax levy history going back to 2009. You can see where 3 years in a row it was flat, the same number. administrative costs, South Brunswick. And this is all published on the state DOE website. So this is stuff that you can check out for yourself. It's out there. South Brunswick, $1,327 per student administrative cost. The state average is over $1,500. The state median over $1,600. Support services were below there as well. Operation and maintenance and plan that I mentioned were slightly over the state average here, and that's why the county office gave us the directive to try to reduce those costs in that area. Extracurricular, we're below. A lot of that has to do with collecting those pay to participate fees. That reduces the cost to the district. We don't make money on that program. It just helps to